organizational session of the Leon County School Board meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, November 19th, 2019, and we are at the Alphalina Howell Center. Also noted that all 5 of our board members are present this evening. I will be serving as chairman of this part of the meeting as pursuant to section 1001.371 of the Florida statutes. First item of business is to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Mr. Petley, as I don't speak into the mic. So we've called the meeting to order, and the first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. So Dr. Gale, if you would mind coming to the podium and lead us into the pledge.
Good evening, everyone. If you would please stand, face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
All right, our next item on the agenda would normally be an oath of office for newly elected board members and re-elected board members, but tonight, this year, we have none. So we'll move to the next item with the election of a chairperson to serve from this November of 2019 through November of 2020.
Mr. Superintendent Chair, I'd like to nominate School Board Member Dee Rasmussen as Chair of the Leon County School Board for our next fiscal year.
So Board Member Jones has nominated Board Member Rasmussen to serve as chair from November 2019 through November 2020. Are there any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, the nomination process is closed. All in favor of Board Member Rasmussen serving as chair for the next year, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear no votes opposed, so based on your votes, it's a unanimous decision. Congratulations, Ms. Rasmussen. Our next item of business is the election of a vice chair. Do I have any nominations?
Yes, Superintendent, I nominate Mrs. Joy Bowen, Georgia Joy Bowen.
Ms. Wood has nominated Mrs. Bowen for the position of board vice chair. Are there any other nominations? Hearing no further nominations, the office for the vice chair is now closed. All in favor of Ms. Bowen, please state aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing no votes opposed, congratulations, Ms. Bowen. You are now the vice chair. As you also know, we have board members that sit on some of the other commissions, both the city and the county commission. At this time, I would like to take nominations for the city commission liaison position. Do I have any nominations?
Mr. Superintendent Chair, I nominate Ms. Georgia Joy Bowen for the City Commission Liaison.
So Ms. Rasmussen has nominated Ms. Bowen as city commission liaison. Are there any other nominations? Hearing no further nominations, the nominations are now closed. All in favor of Ms. Bowen, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Ms. Bowen. You are the liaison for the City Commission. Now turning to the County Commission. I will now accept nominations for a County Commission liaison, school board member. Are there any nominations?
Mr. Superintendent, I nominate Alva Strickland, County Liaison to that commission.
Ms. Bowen has nominated Ms. Strickland as County Commission liaison for the Leon County School Board. Are there any other nominations? Hearing no further nominations, the process is now closed. All in favor of Ms. Strickland, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Ms. Strickland. You are the Leon County School Board liaison for the County Commission. And then finally, we need to elect a member and election of a member and an alternate to serve on the FSBA Legislative Committee. So help me, we did that that goes through June of 2020, and currently, okay, Ms. Wood is now serving in that capacity, and Ms. Bowen is the alternate. Do I need to elect one moving forward from June, and we'll do that in June? Do that in June. So as a reminder, Ms. Wood, you will continue to serve as the FSBA person for the Leon County School Board, and Ms. Bowen will be the alternate through June. And then finally, I need to verify your contact information of all the board members and your residential areas or your districts. First, Miss Alva Swafford Striplin, 3607 Donna Gale Drive, Tallahassee, Florida, 32309. Residential Area 1, years remaining in term 3, month and year term expires November 2022. Is that correct, Ms. Striplin? Next, Ms. Roseanne Wood, our outgoing chair, 2264 Grassroots Way, Tallahassee, Florida, 32311. Residential area or District 2, years remaining in term 1, month and year term expires November 2020. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Next, member Jones, Darrell Jones, 324 Chastain Lane, Tallahassee, Florida, 32305. How could I not remember this? District 3, residential area 3, years remaining in term 3, month and year term expires November 2022. Is that correct, Mr. Jones?
Yes, it is.
And our new chair, Ms. Rasmussen, Dee Dee Rasmussen, 3743 Ravine Drive, Tallahassee, Florida, 32312. Residential Area 4, years remaining in term 1, month and year term expires November 2020. Is that correct, Ms. Rasmussen?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And then finally, last but certainly not least, Ms. Georgia M. Joy Bowen, 2505 Fritz Lane, Tallahassee, Florida, 32304. Residential Area or District 5, years remaining in term 3, month and year term expires November 2022. Is that correct, Ms. Bowen?
That is correct, sir.
Next, we need to set a time and a place for our regular meetings, which was item 1.03. So if you could refer to item 1.03 of your agenda, the staff, Dr. Gale and her staff, and I are recommending the schedule for the board meetings next year. We are recommending we continue with our current practice of the second and fourth Tuesdays of each month. Is there a motion to adopt the proposed schedule as recommended?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Wood, second by Board Member Bowen. All in favor of the proposed schedule, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The proposed schedule is now adopted. This now concludes the reorganizational part of our meeting, but before we turn the gavel over to our new chair, Roseanne, I just want to say thank you for your leadership over the course of the last year. I consider you a dear friend, a mentor, and I thought we've done some outstanding things in many different areas, and it would not have happened without your leadership. And when we talk about what makes government work is checks and balance systems we have in place, and I can assure you, and as you know, that she holds me accountable for the decisions that come out of my office, as you should. And we've had a lot of healthy dialogue over the course of the last year, done some good work on behalf of our teachers, of our employees, of our schools. We've given lots of money back to our schools for things they desperately need to enhance what we're doing with our students. But a big part of that is attributed to your leadership. So I just want to say thank you. And now I'd like to entertain if any of the board members would like to say something to Ms. Wood.
Well, yes, Mr. Superintendent, of course, we would. Roseanne, I've certainly appreciated your leadership, your dedication and passion, and the energy that you bring, and the experiences having served this district as a longtime principal, and the wonderful things that you've done to move us ahead, the forward look and the vision that you bring. We really appreciate that. And your quietness, but still firmness in getting the job done. When I grow up, I want to be just like that. So thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Joy.
Great. Okay.
Anybody else?
Mr.
Yes.
Jones?
Yes. I want to thank my Miss Roseanne Wood. I first met her when you were a candidate, and I supported you in your election because you had an infectious enthusiasm and an indefatigable work ethic that was inspiring, and you made it very, very clear that you were motivated to serve our children. And then for me as a rookie on this board, to have had you as the chair to provide most wonderfully a demonstration of leadership as our chair, and to see you take rhetoric and turn it into work. And subsequently, you have, as I've often described, a prodigious legacy as our chairperson and as a member of the school board. And I look forward to seeing what we will be continuing to do in the very near future. Congratulations to you on what has been an outstanding term.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Ms. Striplin?
Thank you. I was the first rookie in a long time, and I'm so grateful there have been many other rookies behind me. That this is I feel so
No
much
longer
better.
a
I'm
rookie.
no longer the rookie.
you
I'm
are
like a
no
long-termer now. I know.
No rookie.
But your leadership and what you brought to the board has just been so noticed, I think, really. You've given us direction and purpose that possibly maybe wasn't there before. And I think every person sitting here brings something value to this board. And people ask me, how do you guys get along? How do you like each other? I'm like, you know what? We don't always get along and we don't always like each other, but we all, I think, really respect each other. And you brought a lot of that forward to this group. And I just really appreciate your experience and your leadership. And like Miss Bowen, I want to be more like you when I grow up. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what to add without a few tears, so I'm just going to kick you to the other end and take the gavel, and we'll be over. We're done with it. But it has been such just a treat to get to watch you and learn from you. For those of you who don't know, Ms. Wood was the principal of Sale High School for many, many years, since she was a teenager, actually. And so having her voice on this board and understanding the perspective of running a school has been immensely
Valuable.
yes, immensely helpful and valuable. So more importantly, I appreciate you as my friend, my mentor, my co-campaigner, and look forward to continuing to work with you because you'll just be right down there.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
If I may add one more thing,
Yes, of
and I think this bears mentioning. I think what you were able to do to help our Title I students in our district, when you worked in cooperation with staff to come up with a plan to serve our Title I students regardless of school, regardless of district, I thought was a fantastic example of leadership. And that goes back to what I'm talking about, impactful legacy. That'll be something that we will continue to do for years and generations beyond your service on this board. And I bask in your intellect and integrity and your interest in serving all of our children in our district.
Wow, I shouldn't say anything after all that. Thank you so much, board members. And we have a full house tonight. It's great. The thing about working with you all, it's just been such my honor to be the chair for the year. And we all rotate that and we all get that honor. But it's been a great year. I feel like, we do bring different things to the table, different experiences, different expertise. And somehow it really has gelled in a way that I feel we're really moving the district forward. I think, we're working hand in hand with the superintendent and his incredible staff that he has gotten over there to pull together. And so we are just working in a team for Leon County Schools. I think we're all Team Leon, and it feels good. I had a list of all the things we've accomplished, but I think working together, working with the community, working with the two chambers of commerce, and working with our Sable Palm partnership and our South City partnership, and our real understanding that every kid counts and that we want to have a school district that no matter what neighborhood you live in, you're proud to go to your neighborhood school. And I think
Right.
that's been a theme, especially this year. We've really focused on that. We're going to have a campaign to let everyone know that in our community. And that can only help all of our children, which is why we're all at this dais. None of us are in it for anything else, I think, except for making sure our children are getting the best that we can bring them. And the other thing is that we all here believe that public schools are the foundation of our democracy.
Yes.
And we have to have strong public schools. And I think with the leadership team that we have, and our principals and our teachers and our bus drivers and our custodians, everybody is working toward that goal. And I'm very proud to be part of the school system. And thank you for letting me have the seat at the dais this year. And, you know, maybe in 5 years I'll be back. Who knows? So thank you very much. It's been my honor.
I think at this time, we're going to take a team picture and I think we have a presentation for Ms. Wood, so if
Will
wants to
this
come
be
around.
our picture for the year?
It'd be our team photo.
It doesn't have to be.
I'm channeling Mr. Rogers.
I like
You
it.
are.
I'm feeling good in your neighborhood.
We can take another one. I vote for
Okay,
another one.
thank you.
Just goes to show.
I love that purple. You look so royal after you.
Royal, regal, is that it?
Real royal.
So as a thank you in your honor, Roseanne, here's a beautiful plot.
Wow.
Right, isn't that cool?
I need to be on time, so that's great. Thank you.
Here, I tell you, we can get.
I can loan it to a few of my colleagues, but we're all good. We're all good. It's beautiful. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right.
Yeah, so I believe now I'm supposed to call for a very brief recess as we shuffle the deck and turn the gavel over to our new chair.
Yeah, we moved down one.
Right. So we now stand in recess, but I promise you it'll be very brief.
My bad.
Just getting it right.
We must be paying we're
Really?
paying the bills with all the commercials that are airing right now, right?
All right, we are reconvened, and with that, I'll ask the vice chair to read the changes and additions into the record, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, the changes and additions are as follows. Item 1, 18.11, to music, stipulated agreements for alternative placement. Replace documentation. Item 2, 18.12, expulsions, waivers, replace documentation. Item 3, 19.02, statewide voter registration drive. Updated information for this item was recently submitted. Item 4, 7.04, Approval of personnel actions, November 19, 2019. Replace documentation and change the content of the item summary. Recent request changes were made. Item 519.01 was added. Annual meeting of the Leon County School Board Leasing Corporation. Subsequently, the items in Section 19 had to be renumbered to accommodate this necessary addition. Specifically, item 19.01, Ardman and Associates, Inc., Amendment Number 1, Ricketts High School Construction Material Testing, became item 19.02. Item 19.02, statewide voter registration drive, became item 19.03. I move the acceptance, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Bowen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. So unanimously approved. Mr. Superintendent, we're at item number 3 for your spotlights, and I'll just say to the kids, we're almost there.
Yes.
Just hang on.
We are almost there, Madam Chair. So thank you. This time I would like to ask Mr. Sean Pittman, who is the chair of the Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce, and Antonio Jefferson, who is also with us tonight, who is the interim president of the Big Bend Minority Chamber, to come up for a special presentation. Eric Clark, I would also ask Mr. Clark, who is the director of Leon County Schools Foundation, if you would join them at the podium. So, Mr. Jefferson, we are all yours.
Mr. Superintendent, Madam Chair Rasmussen, congratulations. Vice Chair Bowen, congratulations to you and members.
Thank you, sir.
It's a great pleasure to be with you tonight and that you allowed a little time on your agenda for what I think is a remarkable occasion. I'm Antonio Jefferson, as the superintendent mentioned, the president of the Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce. And before I start, I want to make sure that you know who's joining me here, which is part of our team. First of all, our chairman, Sean Pittman, chairman and founder of the Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce. And let me see if I can start here on my far right, Jamie Van Pelt, who's the Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce marketing director. Terrence Barber next to him, who's our membership director. Miss Larice Thomas, who's our resource development officer. Dana Dudley, who's closest to me, and my rock is our executive director. And Marcus Nicholas, who's our Title I coordinator inside of the Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce. So
That's my guy. That's not yours.
who's that?
That's my guy.
Okay, so I'm meeting your guy tonight. And
So, Mr. Jefferson, this is Eric Clark. He's the new.
right.
Who did you add?
That guy.
Exactly. That's right. But Rod McQueen, who's your employee, is the chairman of our construction council, and he is over to my left. Thank you, Rod, for joining us. And Rod is one of the people outside of our chairman that's responsible for what's going to happen here tonight. Members, months ago, myself and Chairman Sean Pittman stood before you and made a pledge commitment that our chamber and the members of our chamber, the business community, would begin to support Leon County Title I schools. While I can tell you that at the time that Chairman Pittman and I made that commitment, we didn't know what the results of that would be in year one. But tonight we are glad and proud to say that our business members and our community and who sponsored or played in our golf tournament stepped up to the plate. Darrell Jones, as all of you know, is just a fellow that always tells folks either step up or step out of the way. Encouraged us and directed us that this chamber needed to be more involved in the development of our kids to ensure that every child in Leon County Title I school got the resources to be successful in school and to be productive members of our community. On October 4th, the Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce held this golf tournament. We had over 70 players that participated that represented our members and our supporters of this effort. The day began with the longest drive challenge. which was very interesting, which was the principal's longest drive challenge. And some of the individual, at least one of the individuals standing behind me, represented a couple of schools. I won't tell that story, but I will tell you that Principal April Knight in the Riley Elementary School was the winner of our longest drive challenge. And if I remember correctly, Mr. Superintendent, I think that drive was about 333 or so yards out there, which was huge. The Southwood Golf Club was where we held the golf tournament, and it was a great day. Our honorary chair of the golf tournament this year was our own Superintendent Rocky Hanna, who done the wonderful job of greeting our golfers into the tournament. And thank you, Mr. Superintendent, for your participation and your support.
Don't thank me. This is all no really. I appreciate that. Y'all are. We owe you thanks, and we are so appreciative that you took us under your wing and made us a priority. So I was honored to play a part in that.
Absolutely. And Mr. Superintendent, it is an honor to be, and members, it's an honor to be able to make the contribution that we're going to make on the behalf of our board of directors, our members, our supporters of this community. Tonight, board members and Mr. Superintendent represents the culminating event for this year's golf tournament. And it is my proud pleasure tonight to present Leon County Title Schools with a check for $12,500. Wow. So before we take our pictures, I will tell you this, Chair Rasmussen and board members and superintendent, this is year one.
Okay.
While we had 18 teams that participated next year, our goal is for 36. Wow. And along with doubling that, we're going to increase this annual contribution to Leon County Title I schools. But thank you for allowing us to be part of building and supporting our community. Our children that are inside of these Title I schools are our future business owners, elected officials, people that are going to produce jobs in this community potentially. And we welcome the opportunity to be supportive of them being successful in our community, in our region, in our nation, in our state. Thank you.
Well, I can't thank you enough, Mr. Jefferson and Mr. Pittman and all the representatives that are here tonight. And I talked to Mr. Clark a couple of hours ago about this money, and it'll be earmarked specifically for Title I schools and to provide flexible dollars for those principals, and the possibility of us finding matching funds is out there. So if we could double that and turn that 12.5 into 25, it would be remarkable. I didn't know what to expect. I honestly expected one less zero. So I'm blown away with 12.5. But I'm just very, very thankful and appreciative of your efforts and for making our schools and especially our Title I schools a priority, because we know these schools have additional resources, but they're very stringent and not very flexible on what those dollars can be spent. And this will give our principals some flexible spending to help purchase things that other schools don't have to worry about, because they have large booster groups and other organizations that our Title I schools simply don't have. But this wouldn't have happened without your hard work and your commitment. And just thank you.
Can we get a picture with all of you?
Yes, ma'am. My brother over here.
Each one of them brought a ringer. She brought Tiger Woods. Thank you again. Thank you.
Good job, Rod.
Hey, thank you. Hey, thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Jones.
She's like, oh, you mean me?
Madam Chair, before the Big Bend Minority Chamber leaves, I'd like to acknowledge the philanthropy of this important organization. As we are all very much aware, there were a number of our schools right here in our Leon County School District that were at the bottom of 300 elementary schools in the state of Florida. There were elementary schools in the Leon County School District that were at the bottom of the 300 elementary schools across the state of Florida. Here in the shadow of the state capitol and two major research universities, there were elementary schools that were in the bottom 300 of elementary schools in the entire state of Florida. And I am grateful that the business community, most specifically Mr. Attorney Sean Pittman, whose reputation as a philanthropist in this community has been heralded often, as a former philanthropist of the year, but the fact that he would corral those member organizations within the Big Bend Minority Chamber, that everyone would feel a sense of responsibility to remedy that disparity and to remedy that number, that there were elementary schools here in Leon County School District that were in the bottom 300. And to be able to provide the innovative, energetic, and intellectual leadership that we have at our elementary schools across our Leon County School District, and to equip them with necessary resources that we could remedy that disparity, I think is something that we ought to continue to encourage. He is not alone in that. There are other organizations found in our Southside community. I see Reverend Quincy Griffin here, of the Family Worship and Praise Center, that annually does a school drive to meet the needs of our children. And it's that type of community input. I would like to borrow a phrase used by our Leon County Sheriff, Walt McNeil, and that is that we would all be all in to serve our children, to ensure that we do our part to create lifelong learners. To Mr. Pittman and Mr. Jefferson, to all the members of the Big Bend Minority Chamber, we applaud you and we thank you so very much for caring for our Title I schools and to ensure that we erase the disparity and educational opportunities and climate and environment for our Leon County schools. Congratulations to you again, and thank you so very, very much.
Very much. Yeah.
And I encourage you not to leave for a minute, because we're about to have a performance by some very children from a Title I school that's going to make you feel good. So hang on for just a minute if you could.
All right, we're up. So Hartsfield, are y'all ready? All right, here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, or may not know, Hartsfield Elementary School has been invited to perform at Carnegie Hall. Yes. In order to get there, I believe they have to raise $60,000, and at this point, I think we're around 40. So we wanted them to come tonight to perform a song or two for us, and then to encourage folks out there to donate to help get these kids to Carnegie Hall.
shoulders.
Ms. Jackson, would you like to say a few words about your ensemble and how we are on the trip and how this came about that we were invited to go to Carnegie Hall? And
Yes, thank you, distinguished board, and thank you everyone that has come tonight, especially my parents. Please give them a hand. The Hartsville Chorus has been invited to Carnegie Hall. This is actually their second invitation, and this year we are actually going. We have raised, give it up. We started a campaign on August 28th called Going Live for 65 to take 24 students to Carnegie Hall. They will also be participating in the festival and going to see a Broadway show and the Statue of Liberty. And we have raised $40,000 on our own. So we are looking for the community to support us. We need $25,000 left to take these students to Carnegie Hall. The deadline is January 1st. That's our goal, to get all of the money in. And I know that Tallahassee is going to be a huge support in making this effort happen. We've already had so much support from Tallahassee, and we really, really need everyone in this room. You can take out a checkbook and make it out to the Hartsville Elementary Chorus, or you can make it out to our Leon County Foundation account.
Hold on, Sean Pittman, before you leave. Sean Pittman, Antonio Jefferson, I'm going to give $500 to support our Hartsville Chorus. Will y'all match me?
Double, yeah.
All right. Antonio, you'll match me? All right. Terrence Barber, you stood up.
He's holding up a one.
Make all of those checks out to Hartsville Elementary Chorus. Hartsville Elementary Chorus.
But are there others in this room who will match that $500 donation? We'll do it like they do in the church. We got some and if you can make that pledge by January 1st, correct?
Yes.
Complete that pledge by January 1st. Give $500 to these wonderful young people.
Absolutely.
So that they can make their way to Carnegie Hall to represent Tallahassee Leon County Schools. That is enormous that they would be in that storied hall. These young people enjoying a life-changing experience. I think that's a worthwhile investment for us to make in our children. Is there anyone else who
I'm
would
with you,
join
Brother
me?
Jones. I'm with
All
you.
right, Roseanne Wood. Anyone else?
I got you.
Our
Right,
superintendent
matching.
joins me.
That's 3,000 already.
Alva Stripling, we got that. Reverend, I'm looking at you. You already got him? Okay.
I also want to say, if you go to the Foundation for Leon County Schools, just Google it. They have a link, and you can donate that way as well.
FoundationForLCS.com. FoundationForLCS.com.
Okay.
Could we have the parents stand of these wonderful
All of the
children?
parents, please
Yes.
stand.
And grandparents.
And grandparents, and
grandparents.
aunties and uncles too. Yeah. That's a great group.
Thank
Good
you so
job.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you
for
so
bringing
much.
those
It's
young
wonderful.
people.
Thank you, children. You did a fabulous job.
Great job.
Get ready to enjoy your
And
trip.
so well behaved to sit through all of this
They're
without
they're
making
so
a
well
peep.
behaved.
Yes. Smiles, did you see all of
And I did the whole performance without any background music.
Yes, that's great.
Right? They didn't blink. They didn't flinch. Y'all are wonderful.
Good job.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Enjoy school tomorrow.
All right, Ms. Wells, if you're out there, come on up. This will be a report by the District Advisory Council Chair. Item 5.01, if you're following along. Folks standing up in the back, there's some empty seats now on the right, over on this side of the room if you want to find a chair.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to fault Dr. Gale for having to come behind. Probably the most exciting thing that's going to happen tonight. But excited to be here. Again, my name is Janita Wells, and I serve this year as your District Advisory Council Chair. And saying, happy Tuesday. And I wanted to first congratulate the new chair on her position, but also wanted to thank Ms. Roseanne Wood. She actually came to our last meeting, which is kind of part of my report. And thank you for your leadership, and we are excited to continue to work with you while you're on the board. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
So our meeting, the first thing we do is we always have the superintendent come. And again, I tell you, that's like one of the highlights of our meeting. Everyone wants to talk to the superintendent, so he always provides us with the latest and the most updated information. And this meeting, he discussed the different negotiations we're going through with the different organizations, one including LESPA and the bus drivers. He discussed the bus driver increases that they will be receiving and what that means for their hourly wages, as well as he reminded us about what the district is doing as far as threats concerning our students in our schools, and letting our students, making sure our students are safe. And so he provides a general overview for that month, and we're excited to hear him and glad that he's always able to make it. And again, this meeting we were able to have then Chair Ms. Roseanne Wood come to us and just thank us for what we do. And one awesome thing, which is what she kind of mentioned this last year, and she mentioned it again, and I will definitely be taking it back to my personal SAC about Zillow, and reminding everyone about the importance of when people are coming to our communities and they are looking for places to stay, the first thing they look is what's going on in that school district, that school zone, and reminding us that we can all go on there and make positive comments about our different schools in the areas that we are located. And so through the agenda, we also had Ms. Ashley Scott, which is our Title I coordinator. She came and gave awesome news about what's going on with Title I, the Title I department in Leon County schools. And she provided us with some great information about how they've revamped their department and what that means and what that looks like. She also discussed district funding initiatives, as well as the Title I News You Can Use, which is an awesome publication that's provided at all Title I schools about the things that are going on in those Title I schools. It also provides information as to how to contact different people within the Title I schools. So I know personally, I love the publications. I love to have something in my hand that I can look at and read. And that Title I News You Can Use is very resourceful. And provides a lot of great information. She also discussed what they're doing as far as parent liaison trainings, parent resource centers, and the Title I conference, which I'm sure you guys have all already heard how successful that was, and what their future plans are for next year, or this coming school year. In addition, we had Ashley Carr, which is the marketing director for Florida Kid Care. And if you don't know anything about Kid Care is an awesome organization that provides under four different areas: Healthy Kids, CMS, Medicaid, and Medicaid for children. And those are just different options for our families who cannot afford full cost insurance. So her job was to come out and let us know that they can provide information for us to take into our schools, to provide that information for families who cannot afford health care or whose children may be uninsured. They can provide information for us to get those kids signed up for whatever one of these four programs. And so I know I've personally used them. They will give you literature. They will help you sign people up. They will do anything to help insure our kids in Leon County schools. So she made a pledge that she wanted to come and to build a better relationship with Leon County schools, and invited the members of the DAC to come and use any of the resources that they have. So we were excited to see her. And she also explained the program. And one thing I'll say is that the program is really low cost. So you can cover a child, depending on your income, at $20, $15 to $20 a month for health care. And I can tell you now, there's nowhere else you can do anything lower than probably $300. So just providing that information to our SAC members to take back to their SACs and to their schools was very useful. In addition, we had Miss Shelley Bell, which is over Lively Technical College, and she provided information about what's going on at Lively. That was the first time she'd been back since the school board approved the name change from to Lively Technical College. And so we're excited to hear about the more than 40 programs, their dual enrollments, their program offerings, the career dual enrollment, the industry certifications, and the career technical programs at Leon County Schools. And I will say that I personally know that Lively is a total jewel within our Leon County Schools. They are definitely a place that our children that may not be going on a four-year college track definitely need to look into. And I can say this because I have the mic now. And my son actually goes to Lively Technical College, and he's actually enrolled in the digital design program, and he's loving it. So that just speaks to what Ms. Bell is doing over there at Lively. And one thing that really stuck out to me when she talked about industry certifications and what that meant at our different schools and in our different high schools. And I can tell you one particular thing which is awesome is that I know a student who graduated from Lively with a photography degree before she received her degree at Leon County Schools. So there are just awesome things going on at Lively, and she was able to communicate those to us at the DAC. In addition, we had Miss Regina Browning with ACE, and she explained to us what ACE does and how they help our community. They provide GED and ESOL classes. They do adult high school classes as well as transfer.
Thank you, love.
They also do
Transitional
programming. Yes, I'm like,
I just visited that this week. It's a great program.
Yeah, so transitional programming for our students as well as career pathways, which just provides additional support for people who may need additional support after high school. So she provided all the information having to do with ACE and what they do at ACE now. And they're also located, they're a joint campus with Lively. In addition, we had Miss Kelly Walker, which is over the district's volunteers, partners, and our mentors program. She provided a wealth of information, and I think for me it's always about numbers and dollars and what that means. And she discussed that last year the district had more than 18,000 volunteers, and that we're on record this year to have more than 19,000 volunteers. And so what that looks like is hours of about 172,000 hours of volunteer work, which would equal about $4.6 million in volunteer work. She also discussed the mentor program, and we had a little bit over 1,300 registered mentors in Leon County Schools, and the mentor hours were about 14.5, which is about 14,000 total mentor hours valued at $359,000. And last and definitely not least, we had Partners for Excellence. We had approximately 758 registered partners valued at $2.8 million. And the total value for community involvement through these different programs was approximately $6.7 million. And
Wow.
so those are dollars that the people in our community are doing to essentially give back their time to help support Leon County Schools, and we're grateful for that. In addition, we were able to meet Mr. Eric Clark, which is now over the Foundation for Leon County Schools. And one thing that he said that stuck out to me, which, is very important. If you reach out to him, he will do whatever he can to make it happen. So we need to just make sure as DAC members that we're actually reaching out to him when we see any opportunities within our community. He will, once we give him the contact information, he will follow up. He gave his own personal cell phone number, which we're always grateful to have, and as well as his email address. And so he said that his goal is to increase dollars raised by the foundation to put back into the hands of our teachers and our schools. So we were really excited to show him his direction, as he's very new. I think he'd only been there 3 weeks. So he's brand new. So we were excited to hear from him and what he thinks his vision will be for the Foundation for Leon County Schools. And after that was the last thing. Are there any questions?
Did you mention that the Leon County School Board member for District 3 was also present at your meeting?
He was present. No, I don't have to mention that because you're present at every meeting.
Oh, okay. So thank you.
Thank you.
What I would like to know, because what you've shared with us today is enormous. That meeting's agenda captured a great deal of the innovation that occurs in our Leon County School District administration. How are we certain that that information is being disseminated beyond this public address here today to those representative schools found there on the DAC?
Okay, so the DAC is consisted of, each school has 2 representatives and an alternative. And so their job is to go back after they receive the information, for instance, about mentoring. She said, of course, we always need more mentors. We always need more partners. We always need more volunteers. And their job is to go back to their SAC, which is their individual school, and to report that back to their SAC. And as SAC representatives of each individual school, we're representatives of the school. So I represent on the Rickert SAC. And so with that, I take that information back to the Rickert SAC, which our SAC meeting is tonight, by the way, so I missed it. But and let them know the information that I received, and that's passed through to the parents there that are on that SAC, and then we pass it on to other parents and other committees.
And again, the nature of your meeting, that you and Dr. Gale, you as chair, Dr. Gale is the staff person for the committee, all of your meetings are chock full of information beyond just policy changes.
Correct.
I think as we talk about how we remedy what may very well be parental involvement at any of our schools, I think we need to find as many varied ways to communicate the information that is being shared. This goes back to what school board member Wood has talked about, but beyond posts, beyond websites, there's something about that one-on-one exchange from the human voice, particularly for those persons. I just want to know that the representative democracy that we have in effect here is genuinely being manifest, such that as many parents as possible are engaged and are aware. And I think when people know better, they do better. If they know about the innovation that is occurring in our district, that goes a long way to talk about what is our brand and the value that we bring as a public school system. So I think it might merit a conversation internally of the DAC about what are the methods and means by which, what opportunities or principles providing for the DAC report to be shared with parents and other constituencies. That's all. But I don't know, because
I can tell you
rookie,
that
but
we
I
would
am
invite
interested.
you to a Rickert SAC meeting.
I would be honored to come. If you invite me, I'll
And
come.
you will see that generally we have more than 20 to 30 people at our meetings, so parents at our meetings. And that's not just administrators, but just parents. So that's how we're getting the word out.
And I think, Dr. Gale, Superintendent Hannah, I think we ought to think about a metric that captures what we do, how we quantify this messaging occurring in the. So then, when we can talk about the impact of the DAC in our Leon County schools, there might be some method by which there's some tool or instrument that could possibly be created to capture that information and that impact. Because then we can then talk about how we manipulate it more to even share more messaging beyond what we know right now. Just something to think about.
Could I also add something to think about? You always give a very thorough report, which I really appreciate, and I'm sure you have it written down to give to us. And if that could go out on our listservs, there's no reason that we couldn't send it out to through our schools, through our
Exactly.
listserv, so they at least get the written report, and then that would, I think, be one way of helping to accomplish what you just mentioned.
There's another job for you.
Awesome. And so also, all of our minutes are actually located also on the Leon County Schools website
Oh, there you go.
under DAC.
But if they get sent out, I think that would
Yeah,
have more
so
impact.
we'll send them out. And I know that we send them out. We're going to send ours out.
You're talking
At
about people
records.
going to hunt them,
Definitely.
Yeah.
but that they be made accessible.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you
Wells.
very
We
much.
always
Thank you, Ms.
appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All right, Madeline Fyock, next up, the Student Advisory Council.
Good evening, school board members and superintendent. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our new chair, Miss Rasmussen.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm so excited. And I'm Madeline Fyock, and I'm the Student District Advisory Council Chair. The SDAC met on Wednesday, November 13th, and we discussed many topics, including the voter registration, but I'll discuss that towards the end of my presentation. One thing that we focused on was voting on the elementary school that we would donate the books during our book drive for. And through pollings on our group chat, we decided that Woodville Elementary would be the school that we're targeting. So, and I'm not exactly sure when we will have this book drive, but probably sometime in the spring after the voter registration drives are over. Our school swap day will be on December 22nd and 3rd, which is the Monday and Tuesday after Thanksgiving break. And I'm in the process of sorting out students from the different schools and arranging that.
Repeat the date. I think you meant December 2nd.
December 2nd through 3rd. Yeah, sorry. And this will give other students the opportunity to shadow a student, say, at Sale, at Rickards, or Godby, and Leon, all of the high schools. We also had the SGA Olympics last Saturday on November 17th, and this was at Leon High School, and we had a really good turnout from the majority of the high schools, and we had fun playing different games, and we also had relay races and other fun leadership bonding activities. So that was a great event and everything. During our meeting, we had the Supervisor of Elections, Mark Early, come with as well as his staff, come to present to the SDAC what they as students can do at their schools for this drive and the purpose of registering other students and just mainly what they can do as students. And we actually got some students registered at that time as well. So they had fun learning about it. And I think Apoorva, did you register at that time too or no?
I was already pre-registered, but the fact that they were there and the fact that a lot of the students and SGA members that came by signed up was great.
Great.
Yeah, so they're kind of having a clear idea of what our main goals are for this registration drives. We also are trying to pinpoint the administration and teachers who will help at each school. So even though we have student volunteers, we also need adult supervision as well to help facilitate and organize at each school. So we're in the process of doing that as well. Let's see. I also noticed that my modified resolution will be voted on tonight, and I just wanted to say thank you all so much for your support and getting it to where it is now. Just know that I will be here to help you guys out and do anything that I can to help make this a statewide policy and do what I can to help. So
Wonderful.
thank you.
Thank you. Great job.
Excellent job, Madeline. Very good. I was going to say she's been so taking a leadership role in student voter registration initiatives, and there was an article not too long ago from another state, not Florida, and I know that this is not going to happen here in Tallahassee, but where college students were being registered to vote, and when they went to their polling places, the poll workers were intimidating them and saying, "Go back to your home state and vote. You're not smart enough to vote. You're not you're not intelligent enough. You don't know the issues." And I just know that that is not going to happen here, and I know it's not going to happen in Tallahassee. But there are some folks that would rather our young folks not be a part of this election process. And I think that's most unfortunate because, as you've heard me say many times, our democracy has to be reborn in every generation, and education is its midwife.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Here.
All right.
I have a question. Are we prepared for the presentation of the Madeline resolution at the FSBA meeting? We're scheduled. Right. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Mr. Bailey, we have been keeping you here for a very long time. I'm sorry. This is the esteemed member of our Leon County Schools Audit Committee.
Representing District 3.
Oh, wow. All right.
Good evening, board members, Mr. Superintendent.
Good evening.
I am the newest member of the Audit Committee. My name is Herbert Bailey, and well, I was the newest member, and you'll find out in a minute why I'm not. Thank you for the opportunity to provide the quarterly update on behalf of the Audit Committee. The Audit Committee met on October 17th, and the meeting highlights are as follows. The committee was happy to welcome our new and the newest member of the Audit Committee, our chair, new committee chair, Dee Dee Rasmussen. And so she is now the newest member of the Audit Committee, and she is congratulations on your appointment as the chair.
Right.
The Audit Committee Chair Rasmussen shared her long-term interest in this committee and expressed excitement about working with each of the committee members. She shared that the school board recognizes and appreciates the valuable contributions of this committee. The committee discussed potential revisions to the LCS Policy 6840 Audit Committee. The revisions are necessary as a result of the new language in the Florida statutes 218.391. The primary purpose of the committee is to assist governing body, the school board, in selecting an auditor to conduct the annual financial audit. The audit committee will continue to fulfill the other duties and responsibilities outlined in the policy. The draft policy will provide to the audit committee for review at the January 17th, 2020 committee meeting. After consensus by the committee, the policy will be forwarded through the district policy approval process. Ms. Levitra Paul, the director of the internal auditing, provided an update on the ongoing external audits. The following audits are currently underway: the Florida Auditor General IT audit, the district financial statement audit, and the internal internal accounts audit. As of the most recent status update provided to the district staff, no significant concerns have been noted at this point in the audit cycle. The auditors have not provided an anticipated date for the issuance of this audit report. For the district financial statement audit, Purvis and Gray Company will represent the required communications to those charged with governance to the audit committee at the January 17th, 2020 meeting. Each of these reports will be discussed in a regularly scheduled audit committee meeting, and any pertinent information will be presented during the next quarterly report to the school board. Ms. Paul provided copies of the first quarter internal audit summary report and 2 technical assistance advisements, purchase orders, and purchase cards for review and discussion. The audit committee had a meaningful discussion about the internal controls, account reports, and brainstorm possible efforts to increase compliance and establish guidelines. The committee mentioned increased training by district staff and the possibility of an audit committee member speaking at a principals meeting to stress the importance of compliance and establish policies and procedures. Ms. Paul provided the 2018-2019 Office of Internal Audit annual work plan overview. The report included information about the percentage of time allotted towards specific projects, and detailed the deliverables of the 2018-2019 fiscal year. Ms. Paul noticed that improvements and successes throughout the year of 2018-2019 for the fiscal year. She also mentioned that workload, staffing levels, and training demands continue to present a challenge. Efforts will continue to be redirected towards these areas during the 2019-2020 fiscal year. Ms. Paul provided a status update on the 2019-2020 annual work plan for the first quarter results. The office is on track to accomplish the projects outlined in the current work plan. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to provide the overview of the activities of the Leon County Audit Committee. Our next report to the board will be provided in February 2020. As a reminder, audit committee meetings are held 4 times per year during the months of July, October, January, and April. The next meeting of the audit committee is Friday, January 17th, 2020. And school board members and Mr. Superintendent, that concludes the audit committee report.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Jones.
I have a question. You described Mr. Bailey. Now, let me just, if I may take a point of personal privilege, I appointed Mr. Bailey when I was first elected because Mr. Bailey currently is the Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs for Budget and Fiscal Activity, but he's also the former Internal Auditor for Florida A&M University. So I invited him to, and he accepted my invitation to be my citizen appointment to that committee, and I made that appointment because I knew he was well-versed. So going back to one of the things that you made, the observations that you made in your report that about staffing shortages and the like, does the committee have any recommendations, or have they sought to make any recommendations to the school board to remedy whatever those challenges may be? I'm aware that it is a competent but a small staff to manage, I can imagine, the auditing concerns for the number of school sites that we have, as well as the great activity we have at the district, auditing both federal, state, as well as local funds. Is there any recommendation, or can y'all come back in your February report, provide us with recommendations if there are recommendations that you all would make from your expertise that could inform what should be best practices for the district?
Well, and you're correct, board member Jones. It still is a challenge because of the short staff, but one of the things that we talked about during our brainstorming session was to cross-train some of the existing individuals at the schools, and also to present or to do a presentation at the principals meeting, so that we can get across the importance of having this information and following the procedures and guidelines, and making sure that they're cross-trained and they know exactly what to do. If somebody's out, everything shouldn't stop. And so that's one of the things that we have said, and we will, at the February meeting, come back with some more information.
And I don't know, and I defer to the superintendent in this regard, I don't know if it merits an agenda item of a recommendation to us to consider, or just a part of the report. But certainly, as the fiduciary officers of the school district, as members of the school board, any recommendations that you would bring to us would be of our concern for us to work in cooperation with the superintendent to manage.
And in addition to that, too, I believe when Purvis and Gray complete their audit, they will have some recommendations that we will bring forth and let you know the ideas that are will help with the short staff and the fiduciary responsibilities. So we'll make sure that is conveyed.
Thank you.
Right.
Bowen?
Yes, I was thinking the same things, Mr. Jones, and that I've noticed, and perhaps you have too, several reports that we've gotten on the past few days or weeks from the audit committee to see what they're doing. I appreciate this report, Mr. Bailey, and certainly applaud what you all are doing. Welcome to the audit committee, and welcome, Madam Chair, to that committee. I think that audit committee continues to report to the board. It is the audit committee of the board, this board, right? And
Yes,
not
ma'am.
the superintendent, though we do this together. And so whatever recommendations you bring back, and of course we're listening to you, because for us, you all are the E.F. Huttons of what we do. And you certainly do keep us straight and narrow in that. So I applaud the outstanding reports that you've brought and the work that you're doing, and certainly do agree that I think that perhaps additional staffing might be in order. And may I say at the very end of my remarks that we wish the very best in the convalescing of the director of the audit office of auditing. So please carry that on to her.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we will, with the leadership of our new chair,
Yes.
we will come back with some recommendations.
Great. We look forward to it.
Mr. Bailey, I'd like to also thank you for giving of your
Yeah.
time to serve in this capacity. And Board Member Jones, thank you for bringing his leadership to this group because it's vitally important. And I know nothing is more important than us taking care of taxpayer dollars and ensuring that those dollars are going where they're intended, and that's to our students in our classrooms. And I just want to say thank you. I'll echo what you said about the director of that department's in our thoughts and prayers, and
Yes.
and we will take back any recommendations you bring. I heard a mention to go to our principals, to get in front of them, to have a frank discussion about the auditing process and some of their responsibilities
Compliance.
as well. So we welcome those recommendations.
Good.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Bailey. Appreciate you being here, and sorry to keep you waiting. Maybe we can.
Best to the
move forward.
family. You know.
Dr. Cox, I believe it's the mental health update and recently required
there.
instruction for 5.05.
What happened?
We're almost there. Your kids are saints.
I'll
They
be
are.
very quick. Okay, Danny, I promise here. Mr. Superintendent and board members, Tanya and I are going to just want to briefly update you on something, okay? And we're going to move real fast on this. As a reminder, 7026 was the School Safety Act. It came down to two allocations. One went to target hardening their safety actual facilities at the school that Chief Hunkier handles. The other part came down to mental health. That's under my shop. It allowed districts to hire a mental health coordinator, and we hired previous COP principal Tanya Fitzgerald. All right, that was 7026. Then 7030 came on board this year, and it kind of added teeth to this mental health piece. And it had some areas of required instruction. Now, this area, this part of the state statute book is about half the book, okay? When you look at all the different things of required instruction, but I just briefly want to tell you what they are. There's, at the secondary level, 6 through 12, you have to have 5 areas of mental health training for all students.
5 hours.
5 hours, okay? We adopted something called EverFi, which is the Department of Education, as best as they could, made a recommendation to us. It's 5 hours. That's what we picked up. We've trained everybody in the district, and now the schools will be implementing that. Tanya will talk about the resources in just a minute. That's 6 through 12, 5 hours of mental health. There's a K through 12 substance use and abuse training. There is no time requirement, but it must be tied to a subject area, just like the mental health piece. Okay, so you can't necessarily, they don't really want you to do it in big assemblies, but there is no time requirement. That's substance use and abuse, because that ties mental health and those things go hand in hand. The new one that's literally 3 weeks old is the child trafficking, human trafficking. That just got passed in on October the 11th, so I wanted y'all to know that, okay? So now that's K through 12 as well. All of these have to have an implementation plan submitted to Tanya, and then we have to give that Department of Education, and then we have all year to do it. And then I'm going to let her talk about these resources. There, that slide up there, it just kind of, what I just told you, just puts it so you can see it, okay?
This
Tanya?
instruction is provided by our staff to all of our schools at all those varied levels.
Right. Staff being the teachers, the actual
Every
teachers,
student, to every student.
every student, yes. Go ahead, Tanya.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. Okay, so EverFi, we adopted EverFi for 6 through 12, and that has 2 components. That's the mental wellness basics, and then we have substance use and abuse. So that particular program will cover both requirements. They will receive their 5 hours of mental and emotional health instruction, and then they will receive their substance use. So they have an alcohol and prescription drug course that goes along with that. And just a reminder, that's 6 through 12, so all secondary schools. And elementary school, substance use and abuse education. Now, this is not a new requirement. The rule just required a reporting format. And so some of the schools, they have already, we trained elementary schools and ninth grade, high schools, ninth grade, too good for drugs previously. So some of those schools, the schools have been using that. Most of the elementary schools, they participate in Red Ribbon Week. And then we provided the healthed.org, which gives them lessons. They have lesson plans, activities, and the teachers, they just follow along those lessons. So that is substance use and abuse for elementary school. And as I said, EverFi for secondary.
May I ask a question?
Okay.
Going back to secondary for EverFi, you mentioned substance abuse. Does this include the vaping?
Vaping's in there.
And you mentioned, Dr. Cox, that we have a vaping cessation.
So it is our hope that we add in before this year's over that we toughen our vaping policy. Okay, and I was going to bring that to you another time.
Okay, that's fine.
Because our current policy is just sits there with
yep.
tobacco use right now. But we hope to add a mandatory cessation class that'll get you out of suspension if we catch you vaping.
Okay.
Okay, so child trafficking resources. We went to Florida Department of Education's website, pulled those resources down, gave them to the principals. In each school site's going to develop their own plan and the resources. Department of Homeland Security has some great resources there, so we've provided those resources to the schools. And with elementary school, so Safety Matters, Monique Barr's program has been used. I know we used it in middle school and after school program before, and so it has a child trafficking piece also. And with elementary school, the resource officers have been trained to basically go over stranger danger with the kids, do some assemblies, and because this can be done in a huge, like assembly format. Most of the schools said that they're going to have the resource officers, the school nurse, social workers go in and talk to the kids in a smaller environment. Questions?
Anybody have a question?
I just have an observation. As a part of our mental health assessment of our children, are we looking at are we screening our children for childhood trauma?
We have as a reminder, we have a screening device that looks at outward signs of problems, and then if we see inward kind of withdrawn kind of type behavior, bullying type behaviors, we do that in October of every year. It's 2 little instruments, and it has so that's the close as I can get to answering that. Not every child is screened for trauma. Those things hope they'll bring out a student that tends to go against the grain, and then that goes to our MTSS team, our problem-solving team, school psychologist, school social worker, guidance counselor, administrator, and a regular teacher, okay? Then they'll look at that child that's brought to them, and they'll take the next steps to see, no, this can be handled with a tier 1 type thing, which is everybody gets, or do they need more intensive help?
So a child who's identified to be screened for childhood trauma, it first occurs by a teacher identifying that student, but it's not a general activity for all students in the district. Okay.
That all? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Superintendent.
So real quick, AP, before you go, and these are just examples of every year the legislature adds additional things that our teachers are responsible for teaching. We put a pin in the FSA, all the Florida standards. This is in addition to all the standards they're responsible for teaching that will be evaluated and assessed on their tests. And you'll see again this session, I believe there's also a mandatory piece on kindness to animals that we're required to teach. What is it?
There are multiple required instructional components that range from Patriot Day to kindness to animals, K-12. Do you want me to go to my
Yeah, please. Real, because I want them to understand that some of the teachers, like the one that I live with, there's just a lot that's on their plate in addition to being responsible for and accountable for the kids' performance on the FSA in the spring. So if you want to shed some light maybe on some of those things.
Sure. So as a public school system, we're required that in each of our courses that our teachers teach standards. So each of the state of Florida identifies standards that are associated with a particular course. English 1 has a set of standards. Environmental science has a set of standards. So every course in our course directory has a set of standards that have been established by the Department of Education. Overlaid on that are expectations around required instruction established by the legislature. So, for example, Patriot Day, September 11th. There is a requirement that on September 11th, the date has been designated as Patriot Day, and that specific components about September 11th and various wars that America has been involved in are taught on that day to our students, K-12. So there are about 21 required instructional components above the standards, and they range from the Be Kind to Animals, which it's in the K-12 required instruction, but generally in first grade is when there's a standard tied to kindness to animals, but we are required to show that in some measure we're doing something with animals and kindness K-12, and then from topics like the Federalist Papers, driving down deep into specific content areas, as well as other topics that are more broad, healthy lifestyle choices, sexually transmitted diseases, those kinds of other topics as well that are part
Are we
of what's...
still teaching children that Columbus discovered America?
That would not be part of the standards.
Oh, okay.
And so what I would offer is that we have the standards and we have this required instruction.
Thank you, Ms. Gregory. I didn't mean to get off on that.
May I have a motion for the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wood, second by Mr. Jones. Oh, I'm sorry, we have no persons to be heard.
That's right.
No speakers have requested.
No speakers.
So therefore, we have already adopted the consent agenda, which takes us to 19 and point.
Wait. Before you jump there, I have to recognize. So as part of the consent agenda, we have named a new principal at our Frank Nims Middle School, Dr. Benny Bolden. It's okay, y'all can stand up.
Are we taking a picture with him?
We will in just a second. But his children sat there, and this crowd has
Bless
been
their
here for the last hour and a half.
I came with my fan club. I just hope we all know. I'm secretly Jay-Z.
But I would just like to thank you, Benny, because I've been bouncing you around to fill in when we've had gaps all over our school system, and you were just like such a team player and such a wonderful leader, no matter what school or what capacity you're serving in, and it's your time, and we are so. I know there's a separation between church and state, but there is a divine plan for all of us. I believe that, and this is your time.
All right now. Preach.
Well, I
Let him
promise you.
use you.
I promise to be brief, but you don't give a preacher a microphone and tell him to be brief. So, but before I get started, I have to say thank you to my students, the SGA, who came out today, the Student Government Association. I have a host of friends and family in the room, parents in the room. This is a wonderful occasion. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. I promise you I won't let you down. And I do believe God had a plan all along. I just followed his plan and waited for my turn. It's something when he take you from the end of the line to the front of the line, and then I say, now, God, you got to do the rest, because we got a point to prove at our Frank Nims Middle School.
That's right.
And we're going to prove it. So thank you so much to all of my people that came out today, friends, family, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, teachers, the Family Worship and Praise Center, the church,
Sister Principal.
to the greatest pastor in the world, my aunt, cousins. I mean, everybody is here. And so before I go any further, my wife is here. A man only stands as tall as the woman that stands next to him. So I am standing tall because of my wife. And today is her birthday, so I told her happy birthday. My daughters are here, who are both students at Sealy Elementary.
Yes, good school.
Yeah, it's a great school. And my son is here, who is here in college. And so I am super proud, again, to all of the school board members. Thank you so much. I am super excited about this opportunity. Thank you.
Ms.
I'd
Bowen
also
and then
like
Ms.
to make-
Strickland.
I'd also like to make mention that your assistant principal is also here, Janelle Bullard, and Janelle Bullard. But what I'm excited about as your school board member in District 3 is the innovation that you bring to the R. Franks Nims Middle School. Many of us were present when you had that tie day. We were impacted tying ties, perhaps more so than the children whose ties were tied. But it's that type of innovation, that type of infectious enthusiasm that you bring to bear in District 3 that's going to make the difference for our young people and help to continue them on a path of being lifelong learners. So congratulations to you, and know that your school board member stands at the ready to assist in any way possible.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations to you. I got the chance just to speak briefly with you this week, and you're very impressive, and just you can tell your heart is just genuine, and your love of education of these kids is obvious. The few minutes that I got to share with you, so I'm thankful. Even though it was an unfortunate event, I'm thankful we got to share it this week. And I have to say, we've had a lot of principals come through this year. I don't think we've had one pack a room like this. Thinking, what is everybody here for tonight? Like, what is going on? And they are all here for
Isn't that awesome?
you, and that
Yes,
speaks
that's
volumes. I'm not kidding.
Does.
I've not seen this
Does.
before. So big congratulations. Frank Nims is going in big places.
I agree.
So I know you're right.
Ms. Bowen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And while I'm very happy for NIMS, I have to tell you that District 5 got him ready for NIMS.
Nims got him ready for Nims.
And I didn't interrupt you. Hold on. I want to congratulate you, Dr. Beebe, and to say how very pleased we are, and we know that you're going to do great things there, and to thank you for the time that you spent in District 5 at the Raleigh School. So don't forget us as you go on to the other side of town. You still have friends over at Raleigh, and we are very pleased and know that you're going to do an outstanding work over there. And certainly we're already part of the family, and you know why, from the choir to the pulpit at the Bethany Church. So it's just going to be wonderful. You are on your way to some great things, and we support you.
I appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
Mr. Superintendent.
I think it's time for ice cream, something, right?
I owe them.
Right, so y'all go.
I do want to say thank you to my assistant principal, not only that's here, Janelle Bullard and Julie Lawson and Wilford Brown. We make a great team, and so we appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
Yes, yes.
They're running for the door.
Now that
Wow.
is support. You
Yeah,
know?
let's get a picture. Yeah.
Okay.
Georgie is about to come out.
like to go?
Just head and shoulders. You got us, Chris?
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Sorry, happy birthday.
Yes, at the end of the morning.
Trying. I've been trying.
And before, Madam Chair, if I may, I know you're moving on to the items of consideration, but I need to explain with Dr. Norton, who had been serving as principal at NIMS Middle School, and we needed some help at Second Chance, and the young men that we have at Second Chance, they're very fragile. That population is very fragile, and I called Dr. Norton and asked him if he would be willing to move over to help us with those young men at Second Chance, and he said, just put me in. I'll do whatever is needed. He's looking forward. I met with him today. I went by the facility today to meet with him to this opportunity to work alongside with Shannon Baker because those guys are they're on the fence right now, and we have to save them. And we've seen an uptick of, unfortunately, of violence in our community, and we don't want those young men to fall prey to those types of behaviors. So he has graciously been willing to serve at Second Chance for the remainder of the year and in the years to come.
Great. All right. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. The next item is 19.01. I need to ask for a motion to convene our annual meeting of the Leon County School Board's Leasing Corporation.
So moved.
Moved by, okay.
So moved by her.
Thank you. Moved by Ms. Bowen, second by Mr. Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So even though we don't have any business on this agenda, we're required by law to at least convene the corporation once a year. So I'm calling this meeting of the Leasing Corporation to order. Is there any old business? None to date. Any new business? None to report. Any persons to be heard?
No speakers.
No speakers to be heard. Hearing none, I move for the adjournment of the annual meeting of the Leasing Corporation.
Second. No?
Mr. Jones moves we adjourn.
Okay, yeah.
The Leasing Corporation. Thank you. That takes us to item 19.02. I see.
Good evening, Board, Chair, Superintendent. I understand the crowd wasn't here for this amendment to professional service. But Item 1902,
That's so
Superintendent
good.
recommends approval for Ardeman and Associates, Inc., Amendment 1, Rickards High School Construction Materials Testing. The increased amount to this professional service is $12,000. The total contract will be, upon approval, $42,000.
I move acceptance.
Second. Motion by Mr. Jones, second by Ms. Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Show it unanimously approved. Sorry to keep you waiting all night for that. All right, I think this is Madeline's, good night. Madeline's resolution, according to Mr. Jones, is item 19.03 for a statewide voter registration drive. Dr. Gale.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, board members, and Superintendent. As you know, on September the 24th, Madeline's resolution for early voter registration was passed by all of you unanimously. It was brought to our attention by, under the leadership of Darrell Jones, that we wanted to take this to the Florida School Board Association, the Florida Association of District School Superintendents, as well as the Florida Association of Supervisors of Elections. Immediately, our chair got in touch with Andrea Messina. I think I called her 15 minutes later and found the steps that we needed to do. This revised resolution that is before you, it looks just like the resolution that you passed on the 24th, with the exception of, it doesn't say Leon County. This resolution will be placed before those organizations which were aforementioned in hopes that they would take it back to their particular districts and organizations so that it can be adopted.
I move acceptance.
Second. Moved by Mr. Jones, second by Ms. Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Show it unanimously approved again. Thank you, Madeline.
Congratulations, Madeline.
All right.
Will Madeline be joining us at our meeting?
In Tampa?
Don't we and the superintendent all meet
I would
at
love
the same
to.
time?
And I think your part of that would be at the FSBA board meeting in Tampa. So it sounds like Madeline would enjoy the opportunity to participate and probably would learn a lot by being
Part of that board meeting.
Again, I just think that it's so, I mean, and again, thank you for everything you've done thus far, Dr. Gale, and moving us, and Madeline for moving us from rhetoric to work, as I like to describe. I just think that her ownership of this is key. I think that it's almost like she's going to take her resolution on tour, right? And I know that the superintendent's has its meeting similar at sometime while ours occurs, and I just want her. I want student ownership of this initiative to be, tantamount, and so whatever way we make that happen, Dr. Gale and Mr. Superintendent, is my recommendation or my observation. Okay.
As long as she can get an excused absence, I'm
I mean,
sure her folks would be happy for her to be there.
I mean, she knows the superintendent by name.
All right, great job, Madeline. We'll look
Thank you all
forward to
so
working
much.
with you for the rest of the
Thank you.
duration. All right. Just for information, you'll find attached item 20.02 from the Internal Auditing Office, the annual status update, and the financial statements from fiscal year 1920 and October of 19. No reports from liaisons. Mr. Superintendent, do you have any additional comments tonight?
Very briefly, Madam Chair. As you well know, we partner with the Riley House every year for a Blended Lives program. That is ongoing this week. So I would encourage you, if you have some free time, I'm going to try to go by there tomorrow morning to stop by. As you know, every fourth grader in the Leon County school system has a chance to visit the Riley House and the Goodwood Museum to get a historical perspective of African American history and culture right here in Tallahassee and Leon County. And it's a wonderful program. It's money well invested by this board.
Yes, it is.
That takes place this week. As you know, our December meeting will be on the road. We're heading to Ms. Striplin's alma mater, home of the green and gold.
Trojans.
There you go, Trojans. On December 10th, we have no school next week, and I'd like to personally wish each of you a happy Thanksgiving and just say how thankful I am to be a member of this team. It's an honor and a privilege, and I could not do this without you. And Thanksgiving gives us a chance to reflect on the things that we are thankful for, especially our health and our family, and you all as board members. And I just want to say thank you and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so
Mr.
much. Same to you.
Superintendent.
May
Ms.
I-
Striplin?
Thank you. If we could just reiterate, I know December the 9th, early, we're here for a retreat, right?
Yeah,
So
what are the
noon.
times of that?
12 noon. We're here at noon, and we're going to feed you lunch at noon, and then we're going to go from noon until 3, and then go into agenda review at 3 p.m.
And when you say here in this room at 12.
This room.
11:30 to 12 is lunch, and we'll be serving lunch in the big room up front. We'll serve lunch up front and then transition into here.
Into this room?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for asking that. I was curious too. Mr. Jones?
One of the things that I'd like for us to consider is that one of the reasons why I wanted us to take our school board meetings on the road would be that we would have opportunity to see those schools. I don't know if we can, as we provide the information for that, could we possibly include a schedule? You'll remember that on our first one, Pineview took full advantage of our being there, making us aware of what they had going on. Their students and everyone were engaged. I think that's what I would hope to see as we talk about continuing this, because outside of these school board meetings, many of us don't have opportunity to visit schools across the entire district. And this is what the intent was for us to take these meetings on the road, that we would have a chance to see the campuses, see the students, see their different. I think Pineview showed us what that type of meeting can look like and how we can be informed by what goes on there and the people who are involved. You'll remember it was Sean Pittman at the Pineview meeting that said that that the Big Bend Minority Chamber was going to adopt our schools. And so here now, months later, we see the fruits of that meeting having left the Alcalena building. So I think that every district and every school board member has a chance to do something similar that in cooperation with their principals, just to provide a spotlight through this media moment here about the different schools and the resources that going back to what you talk about messaging, the resources that we have in our district. That's all.
We're on schedule, aren't we?
We
on
are,
schedule.
but I know, I'm just saying that everybody, I mean, as we go to these schools, there might be a little more engagement, that's all.
Is there an opportunity? It sounds like you might be asking for an opportunity for either a tour or maybe
Exactly.
invite
If we got there earlier.
or
that type of
invite
thing.
the Lincoln folks to show off some of their highlighted programs or.
They are,
Rather than just coming in and meeting?
right.
Okay.
Like we did when we went to Pineview.
So would you like a walking tour of the campus?
Sure.
On the front end, like at from 5:30 to 6, and then start the meeting at 6?
Right.
Is that street legal?
We just notice it. So the notice would say that the prior to the meeting, we would have a walking tour. The board will have a walking tour from 5:30 to 6, and then it's a regular board meeting, or regular business meeting starting at 6 o'clock. So, yeah, we can do that.
We'll give you a chance to see all the schools.
So noted.
All right, thank you.
Some of us have done that, but come on.
All right. I don't see anything else for continuing concerns of board members or new issues from board members. Are all minds clear, as Ms. Bowen likes to say?
Almost. I do need to
Almost.
say one thing. I do believe that it's been an unsettled rule that after you've been on the board for a year, you're no longer new.
This is true, and the year has come to an end.
Right, so we no longer
So,
have a newbie nor a rookie.
I'm still the baby.
Oh,
Still the baby. Oh. Ms. Strickland, did you have something?
I do have one concern. Just one. Just one.
You're recognized for one concern.
Just one, and it's quick. Mr. Superintendent, I am interested in us finding a method or means in consultation with staff and my predecessor, Miss Maggie Lewis Butler. I'm interested in since I've been elected, I remember we named a gymnasium, I believe, for a faculty person at SAIL, came before us to ratify. And I'll be the first to admit that I'm unaware of the policy and the method by which that occurs. But I am interested in us providing some type of but I'd like to, if permissible, Mr. Superintendent, ask staff or your designee to find out a method by which we can honor Miss Maggie Lewis Butler in District 3 for which now constitutes the longest serving school board member presently that we've had in the history of the district, and provide some type of long-term, and perhaps if the staff were to consult with her about what she might be interested in, but I'd like to see that occur, and with a recommendation coming back to the entire school board for us to consider.
and may I add my,
Ms. Bowen?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, thank you. Add my thoughts to that as well. We were over at Ricketts the other day, and I dare not put any thoughts into anyone's mind, but Miss Lewis was a biology major, science major, and I don't know, a wing that it says the Maggie Lewis Science Wing Hall, something to that effect. But just to give some ideas, and I do agree that she has worked tirelessly and hard, and it is something that I would support.
And a retired science educator, and that
kind of
but again,
Support it.
yes, ma'am.
I have an idea. I can't share it, but I hear you loud and clear. So I want to talk to Mr. Albritton and members of my staff to see what they think about it. But I think we can make that happen.
Very good.
Great.
Thank you.
Team Leon.
All right. Are all minds clear now?
There's they gonna get.
Ms. Wood moves we rise.